welcome to the Tom Baker Show. It is great to be back with you on PowerTube TV, and we're excited about this show because I've got an opportunity to interview a driver that I've been watching for a little while come up through the ranks. Now, Lavar Scott is a member of NASCAR's Drive for Diversity program, but there's far more to Lavar's story than that. Lavar is actually a driver who comes from a whole line through 3 generations of racers of different types. And Lavar has spent a lot of his younger years or his formative years racing on the dirt. So we'll get to all that. Lavar, it's great to have you on the show, and excited to talk a little bit about your career and let our audience get to know you. First of all, I want to start with talk a little bit about the family background, because I will never forget, we had you on one of our radio shows at one point. Your grandmother showed up and told us that she built race cars. So I want to hear about all of this.
Yeah, like you said, I come from a racing family. It's all I ever knew was racing. I played other sports, but obviously there's nothing like racing when you come from a racing family. My grandpa, my grandmother, they started a business together and started working on cars, and she would sometimes go out and tow cars with him and work on cars with him, and that's kind of how the whole love for the cars thing started, was them two. And obviously they had my mother, and they wanted her to start drag racing, and my mother had me and my brother, and they wanted us to start racing. And at the time, he was 5 years old, but he wanted to start racing earlier, and the only thing available was the dirt quarter midgets. So he started doing that and getting a lot of wins in those. And once I became 5, I obviously went to follow his foot tracks, right? He's my older brother, so I wanted to do what he was doing. And that's how it all started.
So you have an older brother that started racing before you did. Is he still racing?
Yep, he still races. He's racing. Actually, I have a race tomorrow in Dover, and he's not going to be able to come because he has to race his dirt car for points in Bridgeport.
Oh, okay. All right. So he's still racing on the dirt. So now let's go back, though, because I want to talk a little bit more about your grandparents, your parents. How did it go from a car business to actually building race cars and racing, and where did this all take place?
Yeah, I think obviously when you're in the car world and working on cars, you just meet people, right? You just naturally, my grandpa naturally met people, and he had friends that they wanted to go to the drag strip, and my grandpa was like, well, they building fast cars, I know I can build a car faster than them. It's competition, right? You're always going to be better. And he started doing it, and he built some cars, and it worked out, and they found the racing bug, as they say, and it grew deep into the whole family.
So was it drag racing from the start with your grandparents? It was?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And so
yes.
Then how about your mom and did your mom and your dad both race?
No, it was just my mom, my aunts and uncles, and my grandpa.
And did they all drag race too?
Yep. Yes.
So you had 2 generations of drag racers, and then when it came time for you and your brother actually first, I guess, right, to start racing, you said he couldn't go drag racing. The only thing he could race was the dirt quarter midget at 4 or 5 years old. Okay.
Yes.
So that's how the circle track stuff came into your world there. And he's still racing on the dirt.
Yes.
How old were you when you started?
I did my first couple laps when I was 4.
Oh.
And then did my first ever real race when I was 5.
Okay. And was that also in quarter midgets?
Yep. And then when I was three, my grandpa used to set me inside the car and just push me around the track slowly, just so I can kind of get a feel for what I was doing.
So is it fair to say then that you didn't desire to start racing? You basically just inherited racing, more or less?
Pretty much.
Not to say you didn't want to, but just to say that it was just kind of the family thing, right?
Yes.
And you guys are, you were racing where? New Jersey, Virginia area, or where?
New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware.
Okay, so you were in, how long did you race the quarter midgets for before I guess you went from there to micros, right?
I think 5 years, 6 years. I went to the 125cc micro sprints. I think when I was 11, maybe I did some quarter midgets and some micros, so probably 5, 6 years.
And now, how long was it before do your parents still drag race, or how was?
No, when we started racing, my mom hung it up just to focus on us. She surprisingly, she said, I mean, I used to watch her. I remember a couple of races, I was like 3 or 4. She was actually pretty good. We always used to beg her to do wheelies and everything off the start. But when me and my brother got serious into it and started racing like 2 times a week, somewhere in Pennsylvania and somewhere in Delaware on Sunday, she stopped for us.
Do you have any desire toward the drag racing side of things? I mean, obviously that's where your family came from. Do you ever think, gosh, how much fun would it be to go into an NHRA event and do some drag racing?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I don't know, right? I did it. I did it once, like 2 years ago. Yeah, my girlfriend has a pretty fast car, and we took it out one day in Delaware. Just me and my brother had some fun. I made some passes, but it's not something that I want to get serious into. Like I don't want to do nothing to get hurt and mess up my actual career, right? But it's something that I respect. I mean, everybody that's strapping inside of a car about to go almost 300 miles per hour. You gotta respect that, right? Because it's something that I personally could not do. I mean, I wouldn't do it, but yeah, I just feel like I can
You
right
wouldn't
now.
want to do it, or you're just figuring that maybe it's now.
Honestly, I don't admit to a lot of things, but I would admit that I'm probably too scared to do that. I will
So
admit
you
that.
must have a whole lot of respect for Tony Stewart right now.
Yeah, I truly just. I went to a drag race and you can just feel the engine just rumble in your stomach, and I couldn't imagine how it feels sitting inside a car and just doing that, knowing you're about to push it. I don't know why, but there's something telling me that I really probably would not do it. I don't know. I couldn't do it.
That's it's interesting. I mean, it's a whole different world, I'm sure. But so you were in the quarter midgets for a bit. How did you do? What was your success like? Did you win races? Did you go run nationals? Did you just race locally, or how did that all go?
My grandpa made sure we were getting some wins and doing our job. He worked effort because we was still in elementary school at the time, so he'll be up working late nights on the cars and making sure our shops were good. And me and my brother, I think we had I should send you some pictures of our shop and trophies, but we had I would say a really successful quarter midget
Do you remember
career.
what kind of chassis you had?
We had Stingers, so we were like there were us and a family called the Boyds. They had Stingers too, and we had some, but at the time there was a chassis called Bull Rider, which was coming up, and it was really, really, really popular. And Hyper had their chassis coming out, and they were getting popular. But Stingers were like kind of on the older versions and stuff. But I don't know what my grandpa was doing, but he made it work, and we're pretty fast.
How far did you travel racing the quarters? Because that's a division obviously you go all over the country with.
We never traveled really far. I think we just honestly our region, like the Pennsylvania region for dirt racing is huge, and so we can travel 2 hours, 3 hours, 10 different tracks, and obviously we had the main track, which was in Delaware. New Jersey had ACO for a little bit when we were growing up, so we never had to travel too far, honestly. Obviously all like the national events, I think we went to maybe one, but we just had fun doing what we were doing locally.
Were there any drivers who you raced with in the quarter midgets? Are there any guys that are kind of up to your level that have, gone and done some stuff similar to what you've done, or?
Not similar to what I'm doing, but there's definitely a lot of drivers that racers that are doing big things in their world. A lot of dirt drivers are moving up to the 410 ranks, the micro ranks, still like big races. So I would say not like exactly doing what I'm doing, but still doing big things in their respective
world. That's interesting because I don't think that we think a lot about the dirt side of quarter midget racing transitioning through the micros into full-size sprint cars or whatever. I think that most people just think about the asphalt side of quarter midgets and how, you go from there into, late models or whatever it is you're going to do on circle tracks.
Yeah. My first actual time on asphalt wasn't until about 5 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that would have been was that in a stock car by then?
2020. No, 2020, the U.S. Legend car.
The Legends cars. Okay.
Yes.
So now, did you go from quarter midget racing into the micros, or did you go and then go into the Legends when you got to diversity, or how was that transition?
Yep. So when I was 10 or 11, I went to the micro sprints. I raced the 125 cc's, then I went to the 250s, 270s, and then I raced 600s for a few years. And then in 2019, I came to Rev Racing for the combine, and I made the combine. I did well. And in 2020, I came to be a part of the team for the 2020 U.S. Legend Cars Series at the Charlotte Shootout, the Summer Shootout. And I ran that for a year. And then next year, I got the opportunity to move up to the late model stocks, which was 2021. Ran that for 2 years, and then last year I did the ARCA East Championship, and this year I'm doing the ARCA National Championship.
So you ran dirt for longer than I realized, and you went all the way through the micro divisions. What was it like?
Yes.
I mean, the micro is basically just a bigger quarter midget in a lot of ways, but the competitiveness, especially in the Pennsylvania area of the micro sprint racing, when you get even up into the 600 level, is just incredible.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, like when I go back home and compete against, like I'm racing my micro Saturday after my dual race. When I go home and compete, it's hard. I mean, those guys they're animals. And I think the hardest, like the racecraft and like the driving the car of it, like I feel like it's I can do it still. It's just as good, but it's just remembering little things like little setup things or watching how the track goes. Or a guy that raced at this track 3 times, he knew by the end of the night the track's gonna be on the wall or not. There's little things like that, like I can't pick up on just coming back and doing it once in a while. You know what I mean?
It is harder to sort of do something part-time, right? Because you may remember how to do it, but when the guys are doing it every week, they're keeping up with things where you're coming in, behind, and you have to do a crash course.
100%. After practice, I'm rushing to think of a setup for the heat race, and it's like, well, 5 months ago when I drove this car, what did I do? It's like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
So at what point with your 600 career did you start thinking, or how did the diversity, we got about 2 minutes, how did the diversity come into this?
Yeah, I won a few big races in the 2019 season, 2018 season. And that's how they got the notoriety of me and heard about me. And obviously I knew who they were, and I'm always going to be part of the team. And then they reached out to me and told me to apply for the combine. And then that's how it all went. We just applied for it, and I got accepted to come down. And actually, my first ever combine, the youth combine, I failed. I didn't make the cut. But then came back to do the adult combine, and that's when I made it to come back to the U.S. Legend Cars.
So, was it always in your mind? Was it always NASCAR for you, or was there a thought? Because obviously, from where you were on the dirt, you were heading into sprint cars, as we talked about earlier. So, was it always that a NASCAR dream for you that kind of led you this way?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, right? All I heard about because the dirt guy was Kyle Larson. You know what I mean? Like that's all, watching him, and then obviously NASCAR is NASCAR. It was hard to watch it because we would always race on Sundays, quarter midget stuff. So like I never became like a hardcore fan, but I was like, man, that's something that I want my career to go towards. You know what I mean? They're the most successful, the big names, the superstars, right? But as I got older and seen all the behind the scenes stuff of it, like the money it takes, the marketing, all the ins and outs of it, it was something that was kind of like I wanted, but I can see if this opportunity doesn't work out, the dream is small, right? I mean, it's very hard to get to that level. Then when racing came on helping me and let me be part of the team, I mean, I was like I can actually do this again and maybe have a chance. So that's kind of where we're at now.
Okay, so basically the Drive for Diversity program afforded you a lot of the off-track stuff that you couldn't do yourself. That's cool. We're going to step aside. When we come back, we'll talk with Lavar about his move to the Drive to Diversity program. Stay with us.
Attention track and series owners, elevate your fan experience with the TrackTune app. TrackTune works with your PA system. Fans and teams at the track can hear the announcers through their phones, ensuring everyone hears race calls, sponsor plugs, and more during race nights. It's simple to set up, affordable, and free for fans to download and enjoy. Visit tracktune.live for all the details and join tracks nationwide on the app today.
Welcome back to the show. Lavar Scott is with us. Lavar is a current member of the NASCAR Drive for Diversity program, but we have been learning a lot about his family's background in both drag racing and dirt track racing. And LeVar, I want to ask, how is your brother doing with the dirt car still? And do you ever get to go back and actually help him with all that?
Yeah, I don't get to go back and help him as much as I would like to, right? I mean, to be successful in the NASCAR side of things, you have to be here in Charlotte where I'm at, and you have to be at the shop every day and kind of be part of the team. So when I go home and travel, like we do everything together with the cars. Is I wish I could do it more with them to help out, but I also gotta focus on my career, right?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's get to you.
And he's also smarter than me when it comes to that stuff. So he doesn't really need my help. Yeah, because he's one of the guys. He does it every week. So like he's just naturally.
Oh, so
good.
when you go back to race a micro race, he helps you. Is that how that works? Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about the transition to the pavement and into the diversity program. You were how old when you came into the program?
16.
And did that require you to move here to North Carolina?
Yeah, it did. I mean, at that time, like I really didn't have to. I could have just stayed home and traveled here weekly just for my races to go back. But I mean, I wanted to be a part, right? I wanted to let the team know that I want this. I want to move into the late models. I want to move into the Market Series. So that's kind of how I did. I kind of just made myself present every day and showed the team that I really want to succeed in this. What
was that like to move down here, and where, what were the living arrangements? How was the schooling? How did that all work for you? Because it's a pretty big deal at 16 years old.
Yeah, it was hard. Me and my grandmother came with me for a few months, and it was hard because I left all my friends. Like I left, like at the time, like I'm 16, right? I still have a whole life back in home, New Jersey, but I once I got the call, I made the team. We kind of just got up and left, and it was during COVID time, so school was online anyway, and everything just kind of worked out. But I do remember like there was points of times where I was just like hurt. I wanted to be home sometimes and spend time with my family and racing the dirt car. And that year I didn't do so good with racing. It was lonely because it's me and my grandmother here. I don't have a car, I don't have a license. But I mean, it worked out. I got through the struggle, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, that actually in that situation, you weren't, like you said, you weren't racing because there wasn't a lot of racing going on locally, because of COVID, and you couldn't travel back and forth at will to see the family. So that had to be a tough time for you. But as you say, you made it through that. And how long did they keep you in Legends cars before they moved you up to the late model? Because that's when you and I got to know each other, is right after your transition to the late model.
Yeah, I just did 1 year. 1 year in Legends, 15 races.
How'd you like the shootout? That's quite the 10-week event, right?
Shootout's intense. You got to be, if you're not starting up front, you better be ready to order some front bumpers, rear bumpers, and maybe a whole car every week. Them drivers are definitely intense out there. They go for wins every lap. I'd say that the better half of the year was we did 5 races other than the shootout. Like we did Anderson, the 5th mile behind the track, behind Charlotte, the little Legends track. We ran there. We ran Lonesome Pine. So those races were a lot more fun for me.
What was Lonesome Pine like in a Legends car? I've never seen a Legends car race there.
It was good. I mean, it was fun. You could. It was pretty fast. We drove it hard too. I think the best for me was probably Anderson, though. Anderson was really cool.
Down in South Carolina. Lonesome Pine is up in Virginia. Beautiful, beautiful facility there. So you ran Legends for a year, and then you moved up to the late model stock cars, and that's where you and I met, and you were running Hickory and some other tracks. What was it like to transition from the Legends to the late models?
Completely different car, right? It was my first time in a full body stock car, so I was definitely more nervous, more intense. I mean, you're in a full size car with a big engine in it, right? Not like an F09 and all that stuff. But I remember we did some practice sessions, and I got the hang of it pretty quickly. I think my first race I finished 2nd or 3rd at Hickory. It's a whole different car. Legends are really twitchy and fast, and I mean, every turn you take, it can go right or left. So late models are still very twitchy, but a little more relaxed than Legends. So I think helped to get the hang of it pretty quickly.
Well, so now what was your favorite track? Because I think, did you not? I think I was there when you won a race in Hickory, I think. I can't, yeah, I'm pretty sure I was there that night. I can't remember where, but I think you won somewhere else too, didn't you?
Not in a late model. I had a lot of second place finishes in that. My favorite track probably was Motor Mile, which was a really cool track.
Yeah,
Motor Mile.
Another track in Virginia. Okay, so we ran late models for a bit, then they finally moved you up to ARCA. Now, you actually went to Daytona last year, and I can't remember, as I remember this, Lavar, I don't know that you were scheduled to race the car. It seemed like that was something that came about really quickly for you, wasn't it?
It came quickly for me, yes. I don't know what the behind-the-scenes conversation was with the team and NASCAR D4D, but for me personally, it definitely came within a month. I had to start studying and doing some research for everything. But yeah, I mean, it all worked out. It told me how much faith the team and NASCAR Drive University had in me, right? If they can put that on me within a month and they can get the job done, it made me happy that they thought I could do it. Now, I think I went and did it. We finished fourth, right? We almost got the win, but it was pretty cool.
That's what I was getting to. Is you had almost immediate success. You looked very smooth in that race and very comfortable once you were behind the wheel. But that had to be a crazy month trying to figure out how do I go and run basically the Super Bowl event, and I've hardly had any time in these cars.
Yeah, it was crazy. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, a month and a half before that, I was racing a late model at Carteret, literally. So, I mean, it's a whole different experience. And it's Daytona week, right? It's the biggest week. So everybody's there. Everybody's reaching out. Everybody's watching. For it to go as smoothly as it did, I mean, all glory to God, honestly. I don't know. He took the wheel that day. I just stepped back and was the guy driving it.
What did you learn that day about racing on the super speedway?
It's fun. It's fun. It's a lot of different. It's a lot more mental than physical racing, honestly. Knowing when to make the right moves. Because honestly, everybody can drive around Daytona and Talladega. I mean, but it's all mental racing. You got to be smart with your plays. That's why I have a guy like Frank Denny on the spotter booth with me.
Oh, wow.
It just, my confidence is up.
Yeah, he's been around a long time.
He is the best in my opinion. He helps me get the job done, and I had a guy like that, I was even more confident.
Yeah, that's crazy. So talk about your season in ARCA last year as a whole, because like I said, another huge transition, but you looked very good right from the start.
Yeah, we obviously, I think last year we struggled some on the short track side of things, but when we picked up and went to Dover, we were really good at. I mean, Kansas, we could have won there. Flat Rock, we had a chance to win there. Michigan with Andres and Kansas. I mean, there were some tracks there that we really had chances to get wins. Just something always happened and never got the win. But I mean, confidence was at a high last year. We were pretty good as a team. Me and Andres as teammates. The communication, everything was really good. Last year was definitely a successful first year in ARCA for me.
So then you come out of the blocks in 24, and now you're the guy. You're running for the national championship now. So now we're going to do the full schedule and really race for the title. So what was the off season like between 23 and 24 to get you ready to go back to Daytona and run for the big title?
Off season was a lot more comfortable and understanding, I would say, would be the two words for me. Comfortable because I knew my plans. I knew from like last year and middle of the year, I knew the plan for me was come back to do the ARCA National seat. And obviously during the off season, when you already have your plan set for next year, you're just a lot more comfortable and can focus on driving rather than the business side of things. Understanding because like I know what I needed to work on to have a successful career, right? Like I know I need to do these things. I need to work on my short track practice, my short track driving, just little things that throughout the year I picked up on and wrote down like, hey, I need to be better at this for next year when I come back to this track. So just those two things were really probably the key words for me during the off season. And obviously this year we haven't had the success as we wanted to off the start. Daytona we wrecked in the end. Phoenix we just didn't have the speed. Then Talladega we had some a fuel pump relay issue that kind of took us out of the whole contention. So we obviously have not had the start we all dreamt of and wanted. But I mean, it's a part of it. We're 3 races into a 20 race schedule, right? So we still have a lot of time to make a big difference.
I feel like ARCA, for the most part, that's really what it is. I mean, unless you have a driver like Jesse Love, who last year won, I think, 10 races, you know, a lot of times it is a long play. You're basically just trying to do the best you can each week. And a lot of times somebody starts the season hot and then cools off and whatever. You really do have to be patient. There's a lot of different types of tracks on the schedule. So, you know, you haven't gotten off to the start you wanted to, but as you say, there's still plenty of time left.
100%. That's why you got to stay strong. It's a mental game too. I mean, it's physical, it's mental, racing's all the above, right? The best who can kind of withstand the pressure of succeeding and knowing you have bad races, getting out of the slump and get back out there next week and be the most successful.
Is there a track or a few tracks that are coming up on the schedule that you're most looking forward to, where you think, okay, we're going to these tracks and I know that I'm comfortable there and I know we got a good shot?
I think tomorrow, Dover, I think we should be really good. Next week at Kansas, I think we should be really good. Tracks that I'm one of the most excited for is because it's going to be a challenge for me is the road courses, Mid-Ohio and Watkins Glen. I never raced on a road course before, so I think the challenge, so the challenge of that is what excites me and want to get me ready for that. We have 2 dirt races on the schedule. Everywhere, I think we should have a chance to be in contention. I believe.
See, I feel like the dirt races somehow, even though you're running an ARCA car on the dirt, which will be nothing like your micro, obviously, I feel like at least the dirt should be somewhat comfortable, whereas the road course thing is interesting. How do you prepare for that? Is it sim or how do you do it?
For me, it's just sim, right? I mean, it's the closest thing you can get to the real thing. So I've been playing a lot of sim on the road course stuff recently. Dirt, I feel as though, from what I've heard, it obviously doesn't drive nowhere near the same as micro. But I mean, I think it's just throttle control, right? And I think the micro teaches me that, and I hope to be able to use that as an advantage to see if it works out. But we'll see. I'm just excited for it all, and we're going to put the work in to make sure we're ready for it.
How many micro races do you see yourself running this year? How often can you get back to do that?
So I want to race a good amount. I'm obviously going to go home and race some, but I'm also doing some for Michael Carver here in Millbridge. I'm racing that, I think, in 2 weeks, and then the week after that, the week of Charlotte week, I'm racing micro again. So I'm trying to race that as much as possible, probably 8 times this year. Just stay on my 10 toes and be ready for it all.
Millbridge is crazy, isn't it? I mean,
Millbridge is
so many big names.
You don't know what to expect racing at Millbridge. You don't know what to expect. So it's definitely I think the premier micro track. And if you can do good there and bang the fence, you can probably be good anywhere.
What's been your biggest challenge in getting to where you are so far?
I think learning everything at a fast rate, right? We did Legends for a year, late models for 2 years, and then ARCA last year at the East, and this year ARCA National. So everything's coming pretty quickly, and you got to learn a lot of new stuff on the fly. It's challenging, but the team wouldn't put me in this position if they think I couldn't handle it, right? And then obviously something that's really challenging is just the funding and the sponsorship side of things, being able to acquire that to do some truck races or Xfinity races that in the future to get more experience. So I think all that combined just makes it tough, but just gotta keep working at it and hopefully it pays off.
Okay, so I know you can't do all of it by yourself. You talked about sponsors and people that have helped you along the way. Who are they?
Red Racing and Christy Gromo and Max Siegel. I mean, they all help. It's tough. It's a very, very tough game. But those are kind of my go-to people for helping when I need it on that side of things, on the business side of things. And my mom, my aunt, and they all try to pitch in and help too. So it's definitely a team effort.
So let me fire one last question at you, and we'll get you out of here on this. If I know your bucket list obviously is NASCAR's Cup Series, and you want to go as far as you can with that, is there a race or a type of race car that you would love to drive at some point in your career that's on your bucket list? What is your bucket list outside of NASCAR?
Trans Am. Like I told you, I don't know what about road courses, but just for me not ever doing it, it just excites me I really want to go do it and be a road course master, right? The road course guys are so cool. Like, they're so cool. And I want to be a part of that and learn that skill. So I think Trans Am.
Okay, so how do people follow you and your socials, your website, all of that?
So my Instagram is lavar.scott34, Facebook's Lavar Scott, website lavarscott.com, Twitter Lavar Scott. So pretty easy to find.
Lavar Scott, it is always a pleasure to have you on the show, and wish you all the best with your 2024 season. I'm pretty sure at some point we're going to have you back on, because you're going to go and win an ARCA race down the road at some point. I know you are.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
That'll wrap it up for this episode of The Tom Baker Show. First of all, I want to thank TrackTune for their support. Make sure that you go check them out at tracktune.live. For more exclusive content, you can go to steeringwheelnation.com or at The Wheel Nation on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Also, our YouTube channel is up and running. And of course, tune in each week for more episodes and more content from The Tom Baker Show and Steering Wheel Nation on PowerTube TV. Until next time, I'm Tom Baker. So long.
Like this show? Want more? Then head to WatchPTTV.com, the new 100% free PowerTube TV streaming network. Home of the best classic and new motorsports racing and build shows on the web.